Happy Hour Hustle ain't your typical podcast. It's happy hour with dogs, badass women, F-bombs, iced red wine, ADHD detours, questionable choices, and a whole lot of fun. The topics are random, the guests are awesome, and it's always a good time. Hosted by Kim Bodie, creator of Big Deal Energy and founder of 834, a communications and learning company, 19 years young. Get uncomfortable with us. It's where life is interesting.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for being here. You are listening, or maybe you're watching, you weirdo. Happy Hour Hustle. I'm your host, Kim Bodie, owner of 834, communications and learning company. For those of you that are new to Happy Hour Hustle, we talk about whatever really strikes my fancy, because the hustle is hosted by yours truly. A red wine with ice drinking, dog rescuing, F-bomb dropping, personal brand teaching, ADHD fueled entrepreneur. So you just never know what you're going to get. Welcome to the jungle, baby. My guest today is Alyshia Hull. She is a New York-based freelance journalist who writes on all the things. But today we're going to talk about career and workplace topics. She writes for Business Insider, Fast Company, USA Today, Inc. Magazine, Entrepreneur, and more. And I'm certain I've forgotten some. We're going to dig into her most recent USA Today article on being yourself in the workplace. The article is linked in the episode description, so go and read it. We also talk about dogs, guilty pleasures, robots, and cursive. Is it a lost art? Are they still teaching it? Guess you just gotta keep listening to find out. Thanks, everybody. Again, you're listening to Happy Hour Hustle. I'm your host, Kim Bodie. And right on cue, can you hear the sirens?
Yeah. I can. I was just thinking that, yes.
Well, here we are. Okay. Hi, Alyshia. I am so happy you are here. I'm probably a little too excited, but I can't contain it.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. You know, I believe there's a win in every single day, and this one is definitely mine.
Okay, well, that's going in like my nice things box that I keep. When I have a bad day, I open it up and I'm like, what are the nice things people have said about me? So we always like to start out by asking, this is called Happy Hour Hustle. So we like to start out by asking, what is like your favorite happy hour drink?
My happy hour. Honestly, I'm just a frappe person. A caramel frappe. If I can have any, I would never say no to one.
At any time of day?
Yeah.
Really?
Any time of day.
Yeah. 8:00 at night?
I would love it. Yep.
Okay, that's daring.
Yeah. And I might save some of it for the next morning, so I can wake up with some joy. But I'm absolutely, yeah. I'm just a caramel frappe person.
Do you get whipped cream on it?
I do. Or, honestly, sometimes I will say sometimes I don't, because it makes them fill it up more with the coffee itself.
You should just ask for like a pup cup on the side and then put it on afterwards. And now we've solved all the world's problems. I also would like to point out, for anybody who's just listening and not watching, I am drinking my 5-shot shaken espresso right now. So this is very fitting what you said.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we're going to jump into it because I have so many questions for you, and otherwise we're going to go off track and everyone's going to tune out. But okay, I want to talk about the media landscape because you are obviously a journalist. What it is and what you expected it to be, and what it actually is, and then kind of how like maybe school or how it was framed when you were going through college.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one big thing that you can never really be prepared for layoffs, right? But that was one thing that we did talk about a lot in college is, when you work in this industry, you are probably not going to stay at the same company throughout your entire career. But I believe that has been heightened a little bit more, especially recently, since COVID, which is really the time where I entered the workplace. So I don't think I was prepared for how much that would happen and how much it would happen to people, how much I see it on LinkedIn. But, I think for how hard the industry is, I really learned that through fellowships, through internships, maybe not necessarily through college. And then I have been surprised by, the amount of layoffs that do happen.
And you're freelance. I mean, I touched on this a little bit in the introduction, but that's what you're seeing a lot of journalists doing nowadays.
Yeah. A lot of journalists, whether they choose to go freelance in the way that I did, or maybe they get into freelance because of a layoff, and so they're doing it temporarily until they can find a full-time position. But I've definitely had it impact me as well. You know, if a editor at the company gets laid off, they're my editor, or maybe they leave the company. That was like my direct contact into whatever publication that might be.
So do you still love what you do?
I do. I love to write articles. Anytime I have an article published, it is exciting to me. That has never gone away. I love to speak to people. I love to hear their stories. Taking an article from start to finish is one of my favorite things in life. As a freelancer, there's challenges though. You know, I would love to find something a little bit more consistent, or something where I'm not always constantly having to not only chase the story, but chase becoming published. So there's a lot of love there. There's also some challenges that weigh on me a lot too.
It's a lot of hustling.
It is, and it gets a little tiring, but there's still a lot of love for it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of articles that you published, which we're going to focus on one because you have written some amazing, I already told you this, you've written some amazing pieces and I've spiraled just reading them, but we're going to focus on like your recent USA Today article, which is titled Being Yourself at Work. Can you kind of give an overview of the piece and maybe how it came about?
Absolutely. So this came to me as an assignment. Being yourself at work has definitely changed especially since people have become more virtual and they're not interacting with their coworkers in the office. So I was really fortunate to be able to sit down with some experts and to ask them, what does being yourself at work mean? And where does it cross the line? And where should we tap into it just a little bit more?
I mean, this article is great and you tackled a lot and we only have so much time. So I'm going to attempt to rein myself in. I make zero promises. I want to talk about like why it matters, you know, to be yourself at work. But before, I want to read some of the statistics that you included in the article. When you are yourself at work, there's a 56% increase in job performance and 50% lower risk of turnover. And speaking as an employer, my God, that makes a difference. So talk to me a little bit about why it matters.
I think first it starts with people being able to feel like they can be themselves at work. And not everybody has that. Not everybody feels that they can, whether they feel like, you know, I'm going to get in trouble for it, or my employer doesn't care about me personally. They just care about me getting the task done. You know, I do have a life outside of work.
Yeah.
So when you're able to show up as your full self, still being professional, still being a professional, it makes you want to be there. You know, I think if you've ever had a job where you just loved your coworkers, you had a really great manager, that makes so much more of a difference than going to work every day and being like, I dread this. And it's usually not just the tasks itself. It's being in that work environment.
It's a culture.
It's the culture. I would say that's the really the best word for it is when people feel as if they fit into the culture, and when the culture isn't just a statement on the website, this is what we are, and then you show up to work and it's completely different.
Yes, a statement that's usually full of buzzwords and no one has any idea what it means.
Yeah, absolutely. And employees, they definitely feel that. They feel that when that's true.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that culture set from the top down, and that, you know, whether it's a manager or an owner or whatever, they need to set an example around healthy workplace boundaries. And I would love it if you would kind of like expand on that a little bit. And I say that because as somebody who's owned a business for 19 years and is an entrepreneur, and entrepreneur brains we're just broken. And it's really hard. I mean, we do not practice it, but I 100% agree with with what, with what you wrote in the article, that you do have to, preach it, and you do have to, manage yourself to set that example.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really does come from the top down, and it starts with the little things. When you start that new job and you're like, okay, can I talk about this at work? Can I talk about this on Slack? How are we starting our meetings? It's those little everyday things that people are really looking at. And so if you want to have a culture where people feel a little bit more inclusive, like one little thing that you can do today is, how are you communicating on Slack? Can you have a little bit of a chat bot that says, drop your dog pictures here? Something silly, something little like that, or something bigger. How is your manager, or how are you as a manager starting your meetings with employees? Do they feel that they can talk to you if they have a problem at work or personally, or are you are asking them how they are and you genuinely care? So I think it really does start with the employer, and it starts with the manager who's leading that team.
And speaking of Slack, for the old people that are listening, that is chat. That is an instant messenger, like AOL, people. And yes, I'm old enough to remember that. It's funny because you mentioned like drop a picture of your dog, and we have a chat. We use Google Chat. We're not cool. I can't actually figure out Slack, and that is a conversation for another day. But we have a chat titled "No Humans Allowed," and it's just animal photos. We just share all of our pet photos.
And see, that's perfect. And what it does is, it seems so small, but it makes people feel like they are more than just their work and their life outside of work. We see it. We know that you have a life outside of work, and we're here for it.
Yes. And it matters. And it is, the little things are the big things.
Yeah, it is. That's very true, because those little things are what make up your everyday.
Our days are full of little moments. I'm going to stitch that on a pillow and send it to somebody, and probably it won't be me stitching on a pillow. Okay. One of the things that you mentioned in there is like about, the personal stuff and why it takes a safe place and to even have the ability to be vulnerable. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, I think it also really impacts your performance at work. If we're sitting in a meeting of 10 different people and I am too nervous to be able to speak up, because that is what the culture is, that impacts my work. That impacts my team. It impacts my performance. So to be able to create a culture where people feel comfortable to be able to speak, whether it's work related or not, it goes back to what you said, that phrase, it matters. It really matters.
Yeah. Okay, you talk about the personality types, and that was one of my favorite parts of the article. So I'm just going to name them, and I want you to walk everyone through it. And yes, everyone who can see my notebook, I did write the questions down because I'm old, and that's and I really enjoy a good notebook. Okay, so the personality types, the jokester.
Yeah, and when I interviewed the expert for this piece, she told me to think of the TV show called The Office, for anybody who has seen it. That is what a jokester is. Maybe not as serious. Maybe you find them funny. Not everybody does. No. So you have to know how to rein that in, or really think of how you want, with any of these personalities, you have to really think of how you want to be perceived. So if you want to be a jokester, that's great, but it might not go over well in every environment.
Well, and also, like, do you even know if you're funny? Like, if you're not funny, don't lean into that role. Like,
yeah. And are people just laughing because they feel like they have to? Like, you tell me a joke and I'm like, ha ha ha, like, that's so funny. Is it sincere or is it not?
I would hope that there's you talk about like there's self-awareness too. It's like having a self-awareness, and part of that goes into like, there's a section on reading the room, and that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. It ties back to emotional intelligence, is knowing how to read a room, and that ties into, are you a jokester, and are you even funny?
Absolutely. It's definitely a soft skill. I think it's one that develops over time. but it's really asking yourself, how do I want to show up at work? I want to be myself at work, but really, what does that look like? You want to be a jokester, that's great, but just, again, it's not going to go over well everywhere.
And also that's where the vulnerability piece comes back in. Okay, the other one, the parent.
The workplace parent. I did another article on this, which was where somebody, it's just how it sounds. They're like the parent to all of the employees in the office. You need something, I'm here for it. I want to do it for you. I want to help you. I want to support you. This sounds amazing. And it sounds great. And in many ways it is, and it can be. However, you don't want to be doing it so much where it's taking away from your own job. It's taking away from what you're supposed to be focused on. So that's where it can hurt you.
It's also because I've had employees who have done that, and it can be belittling to other employees, almost like, okay, you're mothering me. Do you not think I can do this? Or it can just be, well, it can make another person, potentially feel small.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to go with that, it can make someone feel like, okay, you're going to do this for me. They might start to rely on you, and they need to focus on their own career growth too. Yeah. So if you're doing all of these tasks for me and I'm like, okay, like Kim, she's going to take care of it. Well, that's not going to help me in the long run when it comes to a promotion.
Right. And what if that person goes on vacation? Your parent's gone. What are you going to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So people have to learn how to be able to do things for themselves as well. And being their parent all the time can hold them back from being able to do so.
Yeah. And you mentioned soft skills, and I like to call them survival skills because they are.
Yeah, that's a really great way to word it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The personality hire.
The personality hire. Okay. So for those who are familiar with TikTok and corporate Natalie, I would call that a personality hire.
Yeah.
Yes, I love her too. It is somebody who really is there for their personality. It's maybe not necessarily all of the hard technical skills, but just who they are as a person. And
I think sometimes companies will bring in a personality hire because they think it's going to help culture.
Yeah, and there's some positives with that. Absolutely. If it can really boost the culture, it can really boost the morale. There's good in that.
And it's, Allison Campbell, who you interviewed for this article, and she's a former chief of staff and a burnout researcher, which I don't even know what that means, but it sounds really interesting and also slightly depressing. But she said, you quoted her saying, I like the idea of a personality hire, not to neglect the skills and competencies. And that's key.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's important. And I think when you look at any of these, there's got to be a balance. Balance with being a personality hire, a balance with being a jokester or a workplace parent. There's positives. There's also drawbacks that you have to consider.
Okay. And now I want to know if you've had a personal experience with any of these: the jokester, the parent, the personality hire.
I think I've been very lucky. I don't know if I've had too much of an experience with a workplace parent, especially. I would say maybe that one. With my old job, I was very fortunate to have a manager who was like, I want you to gain every skill that you possibly can because my goal is for you to grow. But I'm still here to support you. I think of my former job, they really had a good balance. Yeah. So yeah, I've lucked out. How about you though? Have you experienced any of these?
Yeah. After 19 years, yes. And yeah. I've had experience managing, and I'm trying to think if, I did have a boss who, was the jokester, and he was not funny. He was not. And it absolutely bordered on making, on people feeling very uncomfortable. And you said something earlier, like they felt like they had to laugh. So almost like enabled this behavior that quite frankly was inappropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the danger zone comes in.
Well, and it's especially harmful for younger professionals. You're trying to just get a lay of the land, and you're like, I don't like it's not like you're going to feel comfortable saying, hey, that made me uncomfortable. You're not going to do that because you don't know what is okay or what isn't okay. And you're still figuring out, to your point, how to read the room.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm learning from you. I'm entering the workplace. I'm looking to you to see what is okay in this work environment. And maybe it's okay for you because you're the CEO who's been here for 30 years. But for me, the intern, maybe it's not.
There's another thing, after you kind of go into, you talk through like the different personalities. And this is a piece that I think is important that we really touch on, and it's why being yourself matters. And I talk a lot about personal branding, and a big part of personal branding is knowing who you are and feeling comfortable to be yourself. And because it matters, and because, when you are yourself, the statistics show it, like everyone benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you stand for? What is okay to you and what's not? How do you want to show up at work? Some people, they do want to leave their personal lives outside of work, and that's great. Also, you have to consider that if you go through something really hard, it might start to impact your life at work, and finding a way to be comfortable enough to share that. And then for employers also to create a culture where they feel that they can.
Yeah, we do this thing in our meetings. We do like team huddles at the beginning of the week, and I always want to end it with gratitude, because I think human beings in general are just we're naturally kind of negative, and sometimes it's you need to be reminded of the good things. So I'm always like, all right, give me one thing you're grateful for, and that's just kind of how we end it, because we're starting the week, and I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Gratitude or shout outs for an employee. I think gratitude and shout outs, or even wins. Wins are another one. I want to hear about your win, or what is a win that you saw in a coworker this week? What is something that happened at work this week that you're happy with, that you're proud of? Let's talk about those things so we can remember them.
Yeah, we do. What was your personal and professional best within, the last week or whatever? And we also measure, we measure compliments. And so whether it's from a client or, each other, but we put that, we have metrics that we measure, and we put that on the scorecard because that matters. That's a culture setter that, when you can be yourself, when you can fully lean into that impacts your work.
Absolutely. And it's also, the feedback that you give to somebody, such as if you're a manager, I'm giving this to you because I want you to do well. I want you to succeed. This is an area that I think you could improve on. I want to see this change in the next week. Also, here are 3 amazing things that you did well. It's not belittling somebody. It is, I'm on your side. We are the same team.
Yes. You are so wise for being so young.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think it's a lot of interviewing really incredible people. And I would say that's probably one of the bigger blessings with my job is I'm able to learn from people every single day, whether I've had that experience or myself or not. I'm learning from other people, and I give all that credit to them.
Well, I think you should take a little credit yourself. So this is me forcing a compliment on you, which will probably make you uncomfortable because it does make most people uncomfortable. But I do think, I think we miss that a lot, is that connection. When you have that connection and that genuine curiosity of others or what they do or whatever, it makes you better.
It does. And, you can really get that or I would like to think that you could get that in most work environments. who can you learn from today? What if I'm having a conversation with you? I want to listen. I want to learn from you. I want to be a support to you. And if you just really tap into listening, which is a soft skill or what did you use? Survival skill? Is that what you used
Survival
earlier?
skill. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that can cover you in a lot of areas.
Yeah, 100%. So there was a quote from Allison in the article that hit me really hard. We're robots, not humans. And I thought, my God, in the age of AI, like we're at risk of losing our humanity and the very thing that makes us human, the emotional, the empathy, the emotion, the empathy, and so like that, I was like, that we're robots, not humans.
Yeah, or I think what she was really getting at is we're humans, not robots. And I think
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. But isn't that funny? I said we're robots, not humans. That's like,
yeah,
did I subconsciously switch that? That's interesting. Yes, it's we're humans, not robots.
and because it's just so ingrained in us. And I think it's really coming from all of this technology that we're getting nowadays, whether we're talking about AI, we're talking about Slack.
Yes.
It is very easy for these just to be a part of your normal day life.
Mm-hmm.
I have to show up as a professional. I have to show up as a robot, but I'm not. I am a human.
You mentioned a couple times like showing up as a professional, and I wanted to ask you specifically how you define that, because I do think that people don't know what that means.
Absolutely. I think it's really two things. First, it's asking yourself, how do you want to be perceived at work? And knowing that you really can't just take things back. You want to show up as a jokester. You want to show up as a personality hire. Those things, great. But know that when you start showing up that way, people are going to see you that way. And then it also goes to, what is your company allowing? I mentioned earlier, as a Gen Z, as a younger person in the office, I'm really learning from people.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're doing, I might see as okay. So I have to ask myself, really, is it okay? And you might not really know that until you experience different work cultures.
I think too that there needs to be, if you want, like you said it, like culture is set from the top down. And I think that also comes with, whether it's the business owner, whether it's the manager, admitting when you fuck up, when you make a mistake. Like failure is okay. And failure is where you learn some of life's most valuable lessons. But if you don't model that, we have a saying in the office, mistakes are okay. Just make different ones. Learn from the one you made before and just make different, more interesting ones the next time around.
Absolutely. And that's such a great point. And I think it really goes towards, modeling it from the top down. If your employer makes a mistake, your manager makes a mistake, and they admit to that, it makes it more comfortable for employees to be able to admit to that. I remember my old boss saying, I would rather know that you made a mistake, you tell me about it, I'm not going to get mad at you, than for an industry like mine where I'm publishing articles. Tell me before the article is published and not afterwards. So mistakes, they are okay, and modeling it.
100%. Okay, so are you ready for the lightning round? And so you're going to just tell me, give me your opinion on these things as I go through it. Are you ready? I'm really building this up to make you anxious. So, okay. Remote work.
I love it. I love remote work personally. That could just be the Gen Z in me. I think connection at work is still very important, and you might have to focus on that a little bit more. Let's do some coffee chats. Let's make sure I'm meeting with people at work, even if it's via Zoom. I think you have to put a little bit more focus into that, because connection is still important, but remote work, I still think is great.
Okay, dogs in the office.
I love it. I wish we had it more.
See, this is why you're my favorite person. Okay, PR people.
I know journalists and PR people, they have this challenge with each other. I personally do not mind PR people. I think PR people are great. It is how I get a lot of my really great sources. I'm all for them.
Cursive.
I can do it personally as a Gen Z. It might not be as good as somebody who's older than me, but
I can't do it anymore. It's gone, Alyshia. It is gone. I have lost it.
yeah. It is something they still teach in school. That is a misperception. Yes,
Okay.
there was like a viral thing on Facebook. Or, they don't teach cursive in school anymore, and I believe that's actually not. That's not true. It just blew up, and now everyone believes it.
I am one of those people that just believe that. Okay, favorite podcast.
Well, of course, yours.
Obviously, sure. Yeah, I expected you to say that.
But number two, Rachel Hollis. I've always been a really big fan of self-development, and I like podcasts like Rachel Hollis.
Yeah. I really love her too. What is the name of her podcast for anybody listening?
I believe it's just the Rachel Hollis podcast.
Okay. I will tell you that I'm in love with Amy Poehler, which no one is surprised. So,
no, Amy Poehler's amazing.
I know, right? Okay. Guilty pleasure.
Maybe I'd go back to those frappes. Honestly, I don't know because I don't have any guilt.
Okay, but I was like, I don't really watch TV, but I did get sucked into a reality TV show the other day, which I never watched that because I don't know, I read. And I can't remember what it was, but my God, I could not stop. There were years ago, I got sucked into Below Deck, and I was like, this is actually, I'm losing pieces of time in my life, so I've got to stop.
When it comes to TV shows, I would say The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is a show that I have gotten sucked into probably more than I should.
I have heard that from multiple people. So you are in good company or bad company. Okay, so I love you and everything you write. I already told you this before we even started recording that your article on AI is amazing. I mean, everything you've written has been fantastic. Like, I am fangirling. So we're going to have you back on to talk through all of that because I was like, this can't be like a 4-hour podcast. And at some point you would get sick of me. But thank you. Thank you so much for your perspective, for your honesty, and for being on Happy Hour Hustle.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm not sure if I said this to you during the call or it was before, but I believe there's a win in every single day. And this is definitely mine. And I would say it's probably the biggest win of the week. Just being asked to come on meant a lot to me, and having this conversation with you also does too.
Well, I mean, apparently we really like each other. So now we just have to set up regular coffee dates. So that's just what this is.
Absolutely.
So we're now BFFs, everyone. So, okay, Alyshia, you're amazing. I'm going to share a bunch of links to all of your articles and stuff and your bio, which is super impressive. But thank you again for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Anytime. I would love to come back.